Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us. My name is Miguel. Daniel is also in the call. We are the co-founders and core maintainers of Chainloop. Chainloop is an open source project that allows you to collect, secure, and distribute software supply chain metadata. But before that, we used to do a lot of automation. So we used to build a CI/CD systems at Binami and VMware. And actually, I wrote a lot of YAML, and I suffered a lot of YAML. So I'm very happy to be here to join the cause. So, but today we're here to talk about something else. Today we are here to talk about what's software supply chain metadata and why you should care about it. Then I'm gonna explain how Chainloop could help you in that journey. And finally, I want to show the integration that we have been doing with Dagger, with a new Dagger module that we have published. So yes, I'm gonna start with another traditional CI into production pipeline. So all the way from the code to deployment. But the reason I'm showing this is because you might have this in your organization, you might be happy with it, but then you have some security and compliance requirements coming your way. And by security and compliance might mean that basically different stakeholders in your organization might have a saying on how you deliver software, right? So you might have, for example, the security team that might now care about having a vulnerabilities management system, or you have the compliance team taking a look at the different licenses of your third-party software, that your dependencies. And then you can also have a platform team, an SRE team, taking a look at making sure that you have visibility, making sure you have some health on those systems. And as you can imagine, this gets it gets harder, right? So because you can see how the security team can start asking for more and more requirements, like making sure that you have information about how something was built, have some integrity assurance about it, have a way to know how the software is built. The compliance team might be actually doing some SOC 2 now, and you might know how hard that process might be, and they need to kind of like find pieces of evidence, so they're asking for it. So you can see how this thing gets very, very complex. And based on our experience, a lot of these use cases, so to speak, are based out of metadata. And are based off, and we think the metadata, software supply chain metadata is the bedrock. By software supply chain metadata, we mean things like software bill of materials, data stations, QA and test reports, CV scans, anything, any piece of context that tells you how things are built or how your software delivery lifecycle looks like. And traditionally, what that means, once you need to start working in that direction, what happens is you have developers that take care of integrating, maintaining tooling for generating this metadata or adding control gates. So for example, you might have a team that is choosing, it chooses same grep to do a static analysis during pull request. Or you might have them using Trivi to generate the CV scan at package time. Then they need to figure out where to send the metadata. And at the end of the day, basically, you're making developers responsible of this process. And reality is that this doesn't scale from the organizational point of view, because you have software supply chain metadata that is basically scattered across silos. It is inconsistent. Some teams might be using different versions, different tools. It's optional. There is not an easy way to make sure that they're all following the same practices. So it's not enforced. And lastly, it is not trusted. You cannot trust that information, that metadata, that process, really. So that's why we built Chainloop. We believe that there is a better way. So we built Chainloop in such a way that it's an open source metadata vault for your software supply chain metadata. And we build it in such a way that we want to make sure that we define clearly the ownership on developers on the left side, what they need to do, what's their responsibility, and security, product, compliance teams on the right side. So for example, the latter might be defining where they want the metadata to live in. They might want to know how to analyze the metadata, what to do with it. Do they want to check licenses? Do they want to check for CVs? And on the left side, developers will just follow a guided process to send metadata and stay compliant. And they can use any CI/CD system. Of course, Dagger is actually a very good fit in this. That's why we're very excited about the integration with Dagger here. So for example, operators in this case, they will have a way to define and enforce what kind of metadata developers should be sending. And that's what we call the contract. So for example, on the right side, what you can see is a contract that says a team, there is a team that needs to send me a binary, which is an artifact, and a Cyclone DX software bill of material, and needs to run in a Dagger pipeline. So this is a declarative way of setting the intent, so the developers just need to follow that spec. And of course, I'm going to go very quickly about this, but what they also get, operators also get, you get content addressable storage, which at the end of the day is a fancy way of saying that it's a place where you store something and you retrieve it by the digest of the content. But it works across different backends, and what you get out of it at the end of the day by using Chainloop is an end-to-end solution for trusted software supply chain metadata based on open source primitive open source components like Intoto, Salsa, Sigstore, OCI, so on and so forth. But most importantly, and that's going to be the end, and we're going to get to the demo right after this, is how we design Chainloop in such a way that it's easy for developers to stay compliant. And they do it through a guided attestation process that we call. And the attestation means just a way to collect pieces of evidence, metadata, secure it, and send it to Chainloop control plane. And as you can see on the right, you have a Chainloop attestation in it. It basically looks like Git, right? And this is not by coincidence. We wanted to make sure that it feels familiar. So a developer will initialize an attestation. It will add any requirement, any pieces of evidence required, and finally, it will just sign it and push it to the control plane. So finally, our demo. Should I stop here for questions, something, Miranda, or keep going?
No, you're good. You're good to go.
Perfect. All right, so the demo. Collect software supply chain metadata with Chainloop and Dagger, and we're going to do it two ways. First, we're going to do it running the functions directly using the Dagger CLI, and what I really like is actually using Go and using it in my Go pipeline. So let's go back. This is Chainloop. Chainloop is this open source project that today you can find in GitHub. And what you will do is you will deploy your own instance and then install the CLI to operate with the control plane. And that's what I've done. At the bottom, I have basically the CLI installed. You can see Chainloop version. And I also have configured a set of destinations. These are the destinations where I want the metadata to get to. Take into account, I'm showing you right now from the point of view of an operator of the system. So I have Azure Blob, OCI, so on and so forth. But I also have configured different destinations for how to analyze that metadata. So I have dependency track for license. I also have a Discord webhook. Actually, you did a demo, so it's very interesting. So very similarly, you can get notifications through webhook and Slack. But the most important part is I have defined the contract that I'm going to be asking this workflows on the other end to comply with. And what I'm saying is this needs to be a Dagger pipeline. I want you to run a Dagger pipeline and provide me with a container image, with an artifact, and two different software bill of materials. So for now, what we're going to do is just wait for the data to come in, and I'm going to demo the collection process. So what we're going to be using is the Dagger module that we wrote, which basically has the same functions. Maybe it's too small. The same functions that I showed before. You init, you add, you push, so on and so forth. So to start with the demo, what we're going to do is attestation init. I'm calling it remotely as well. And the only thing I need to provide is the token. That token is something that the operator of Chainloop will provide the development team. The result of this is an attestation ID, and as you can see in the control plane, it's already marked as initialized. So it's basically a way to tell you that you can keep going with the process. So the next thing we're going to do is to check the requirements, and this is part of the guided attestation process. Me as a developer, I have a way to Me as a developer, I have a way to see what I need to provide. So I don't need to understand where the data needs to go. I just need to know what I need to provide, what's required and what's not. Okay, so let's start sending, for example, the Cyclone DX software bill of materials. So you will do it with the Dagger module, attestation add, you provide attestation ID, the name of the piece of evidence, and the evidence itself. This gets uploaded to the content addressable storage and injected automatically. Same with the container image. To pass a container image, even if it's a tag, automatically Chainloop will find the digest of the image and will make sure that it gets encoded in such a way. And the final step, very quick, is just to call attestation push, in which you will provide some signing keys. And by the way, this is live, and I'm surprised that it hasn't exploded yet. So this is awesome.
Doing great.
There we go. We have, this is the result. The result is what is called an in total attestation. And in total attestation is this envelope with information that has been signed. The client has been sent to the control plane. So as we can see here at the bottom, we have finished the attestation. So now we can see, for example, we can, from the Chainloop point of view, from the Chainloop control plane, we can describe the result. And as you can see, we have all the metadata automatically injected, including the client that was used for Dagger, the CLI that was used, but also the different materials, the different pieces of evidence, like the container image, everything referenced by digest. In fact, I can now do Chainloop artifact download by digest, and it will figure out in which of those CAS backend is in which of those storage locations it is, and you will be downloaded. So that's that was fun, but what I really like is actually using this module in my Go code. This is what I really like, and this is what I did. So we have this other repository integration demo. You can access to it right now. It's public, and I have a Dagger pipeline. And in there, what I do is to build a container, a Go project, generate that software bill of materials using Swift, and all of it with Dagger modules, which is awesome. And then build a container image with Wolfie and push it. It's very simple, very traditional. Build the binary, create the container image and publish it. So to instrument to add Chainloop here, the only thing I needed to do, I have this pull request here, is to first import the Chainloop dependency. And as we saw before, by using the Chainloop client, you will do Chainloop attestation init. First step, then you can do attestation add. You will provide as many pieces of evidence as you need. And finally, this is actually really like, I don't know why, it's because by using Go, you can use defer. So I can actually make sure that you can push at the end or mark that attestation as failed. And of course, finally, what we do, because we run it from GitHub Action, we just need to update the GitHub the GitHub pipeline to add these extra parameters. But that's everything we needed to do. That was a very good experience. So just to finish, I will say that what you just saw is basically a way to get a head start on compliance and security today, because it was a very simple way of starting in that journey, because Dagger is already giving you some standardization, some visibility, and Chainloop is giving you a way to collect this additional metadata. And the most important part is actually what's very fun. I will say that Dagger functions are by far the best running integration we have. We have integration with GitHub, GitLab, Jenkins, so on and so forth. And Dagger functions were great because instrumenting the pipeline was super, super simple. And it's actually very aligned with our principles, which are to make sure that we help developers, that we shift left as much as we can. That's why I run the process locally as well, the attestation process locally. And we want to make sure that we meet our developers where they are with their tools. And the fact that I could do it in Go is awesome. So I think that, yeah, I recommend that you give it a try. And if you have any feedback, any question, and if you like what we do, please, I know that it's a vanity metric, but give us a star in the repo. Yeah, thank you.
A star for a star. Thanks, Mel. That was an awesome demo. It's really exciting to see. I see a few people typing, so I'll give it a moment for questions before we go on with Luke. Solomon, do you want to just unmute?
Yeah, I can just, yeah, sure. Yeah, I never know if there's time for live questions, so I just write it down. Yeah, I love the demo. It's awesome. And I actually was looking at it, and I already have an idea for a contribution to take advantage of custom types. I think we can make it even more modular, even more fun to use. And also, I noticed you called Chainloop download at the end, and we can wrap that into an optional function also. So straight from the module, you can just get the artifact at the end. I'm gonna try contributing that. See if I can familiarize myself with Chainloop in the process.
That makes sense. That's awesome.
There's another question in here. Does this data from build kit under the hood, or wait, does this get data from build kit under the hood about commands that run?
I'm not sure I understand the question. So I mean, Chainloop tries to get some environment information, but it's limited to the repository that you're running to, and some environment variables that the operator has allow listed in the contract. And that's pretty much the extent of what it does in terms of automatically retrieving environment information. And actually, something that I put there about I really like the integration with Dagger. But actually, one of the things that changed compared to other CI/CD systems is like Chainloop cannot retrieve as much information as usually does for the user, like information about this is GitHub, this is the Git commit automatically, because well, it's a module, it's more encapsulated and more isolated, which is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's like something actually something that changed a little bit compared to other integrations.